just in terms of what you saw out of this first game, Moultrie and Maxwell are getting their first caps. What can you use the second game to maybe advance upon that you saw in the first game?
Well, they've each done a really good job of stepping it up in the moments that we've asked them to. Olivia, I thought, was great between the lines. Her and Lindsay actually had some interchange a little bit, so she also played the six just by the nature of them playing with each other and moving off of each other. I thought she did a really good job defensively as well, pressing and picking and choosing the right times to step out of our shape and get pressure on the ball, and that's really, really important at this level to be able to do both sides. Jenna, obviously, we see as a very versatile player that could play very many positions, and she did a great job stepping into something that's hard. We're building with three, and she played on the left side, and she picked and chose some really good moments to play forward, and she did a good job defensively. And I think it's really just about these first moments for them and just continuing to layer on responsibilities as they come. And the key message to everybody is just that they stay ready. And when they're asked to play, that they're ready to do that and step into their role in a very significant way. So we've actually already spent time with both of them reviewing film concepts, and we feel confident in their ability to continue to take another step.
Obviously, tomorrow's last game of the year, today training. What else do you want the team to show you that will deem this camp as a success?
I think really just building off of our last performance, which obviously was just this last game, is a very good step in the right direction for us. And I think there's still quite a few things that we can get better at. And we've challenged them in very specific ways. So I'm looking for a response. And that's not just offensively, it's also defensively. It's the team as a whole, it's lines, it's kind of subgroups, and it's individuals. They've all been challenged, and we just want to continue to raise our expectations and build on the layering in of the style of play that we started since the World Cup.
Obviously, it was a dominant performance in that first game. What are your expectations for this second game? I know you've touched on that a little bit. And is complacency a concern at all?
No, complacency is not a concern. Every time we put on the jersey, the crest, there's an expectation that we perform at the highest level possible, regardless of who the opponent is. China's a very good opponent. It's very difficult to play against teams that sit in a block, are very zonal, very disciplined. This is a team that scored against England, scored against Sweden. The expectation is that we continue to possess, that we take care of all of our countermeasures, that we're on point, that we get crisper at our organized defense from within our shape when we do have those opportunities. Hopefully we're not in that situation a whole lot. And then to just continue to be brave and try the things that we're trying and just do them a little bit more effectively.
Anything else here before I go to online? Yeah, go ahead, Meg.
I think we've heard a lot about trying to figure out this team's identity and take it to a new level. Just when you think about that word, I don't expect you to kind of lay out the principles, but like, how do you feel about that process of finding this team's new identity moving forward?
It's a good question. I think there's two things happening. And I talked about this with the group before we went out to the game. It's showing who we are, but also who we're becoming. And they're not mutually exclusive. You know, there's some really good stuff here. We have a very strong history. This is a program that means so much to so many people and has been example to the world in some ways about what women's football or soccer can be. And we don't want to lose any of that. And yet we are layering in new ideas. We are layering in new tactics. We are layering in just a little bit of a shift in mentality. And I think it's both. I think what we really want is we want everybody locked in, which I think has always been the case, willing and brave to try new things. You see this rotation of new people in, which requires like a faster hold on what our culture and identity is within the group, meaning we have to acclimate them quicker and do so maybe with not just amongst a group of veterans, but do so with a group that is new, which is a little bit different. But I think it's the same thing it's always been. We want to be on the front foot offensively and defensively. We want to be dominant when we can be. We want to get better in possession. And we want to show that we believe that we can win under all circumstances.
Going online, Jonathan Tannenwald. Are you there?
Thanks, sir. I am indeed. Hi, TWILA. You know, I think about your role sort of not only as tactician in chief, but psychologist in chief over the last 2 months, few months. How do you think that has evolved to this point where the mood of this team now seems pretty upbeat? Thanks.
You know, I don't take any responsibility for how they manage themselves or who they are as people. I think all coaches and human beings to one another want to help each other be successful, set realistic expectations, you know, pick out the next best step. And there's always going to be a measure of challenge, but also support that accompanies that. But these are like true pros, women who really want to be here. They'll do whatever it takes. And they show up every day wanting to learn, to grow, to be better, and also help establish that we can be back on top.
Andrew Jones from online. Go ahead, Andrew.
Thanks, Aaron, as always. Twilight, you had a nice moment meeting Serena Williams after the match on Saturday. How was that whole experience meeting her daughter, and her husband there?
You know, I was absolutely starstruck. I think I have to thank Hype for helping make that happen. I said I'm not going to miss this opportunity. She's just an absolute legend, and what she's done for her sport, you know, for just people in general, and now what her family's doing for women in football is pretty incredible, and it's just awesome to be able to say thank you and just get next to her. I'm not starstruck very often. I grew up, my mom was in the entertainment industry growing up, so I've been around quite a few celebrities, and well, not like that, but just around it. I've been around it, and man, just an amazing feeling to be that close and get to talk to her and just say thank you.
I think we have one more online. Is that Theo Hughes? Go ahead, Theo.
Hi, TWILA.
Yeah.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, TWILA. It's been almost 2 years since you joined the national team as an assistant, and it was that your first camp, first tournament, I think, that freezing night in Frisco against Iceland. And I was just wondering if you could kind of, just being back in Frisco now as the interim, mean anything to you? And kind of a little bit about maybe what the last 2 years have been like. 2 years ago when you came on as an assistant, did you see yourself in this position?
You know, I hadn't even thought about this place being one of the first tournaments that I started with the team till just now. I do reflect every once in a while when I have a moment and say, wow, like, this is a pretty incredible opportunity that came, and just very grateful for the opportunity and like the support of my husband and my family to just go ahead and do it and be all in, which means I actually don't have a lot of time to reflect about things like this. But I did have a moment with Jaden Shaw this morning when we were doing right before film where she was reflecting on how much it means to her to be at a stadium that, you know, she won a Dallas Cup final in, and she lives pretty close by. This is a stadium that she, you know, would frequent on her way homes, and to be able to play here in front of her friends and family was quite incredible, and it was inspiring to hear her talk about it. So I probably need to sit and have a moment of reflection for myself and enjoy this moment as well.
Let's go to, it won't be as cold tomorrow. Let's go to Sandra Herrera. Are you there, Sandra?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thanks for the time. TWILA, I guess just to sort of piggyback off of that in terms of having time to be reflective, has the buy-in and input from the players, you know, helped you along in this process as interim? I know back in Chicago you mentioned getting some encouragement from Megan Rapinoe taking on this role, and Trinity Rodman spoke with us the other day, and I believe she said it's been insane, your transition here and having to kind of take on this role and how you've excelled in it. And she was very complimentary of your ability to be an effective communicator. So has their buy-in sort of helped you in this process? I know you say you haven't had too much time to be reflective, but has that been helpful at all?
Yeah, I think there's support that goes in both directions as human beings. In terms of like play and coaching, I think in both directions, that's actually more of something you earn. And we do that every day. Part of that is through listening to what each other think and encouraging like open and honest dialogue. But the best thing about this team is once who's ever in charge makes a decision, there's buy-in. And it has been very, very helpful for me, not only to reflect after World Cup with the players, but every single member of the delegation. And if I couldn't get to them, at least like the head of their department, and make sure that the order in which I tackled things was what I would call like the lowest lying fruit, where we would get the most immediate success from it. And I do think that the players' reflections is really important in that process. I'm very grateful that they trust me, and I trust them.